Hey guys, my name is Matt Drinkall. I'm an offensive assistant coach here at Army West Point Football, and today I'm going to be talking to you guys about attacking a 3-4 defense, and more specifically the tight front that everybody seems to be running now in college football, which is the double 4-eye. So I'm going to talk to you about some basic things with the interior run game and adjustments that are designed specifically for attacking this front. So a little bit of background and kind of overview of what I'm going to be doing is I was the former head coach at Kansas Wesleyan University for the past 5 seasons. Once at the conclusion of the 2018 season is when Coach Munkin hired me out here at Army. But I was a power spread offense, very similar to some of the things you're seeing Scott Frost do at Nebraska and Gus Malzahn and at Auburn and really a kind of a hybrid blend of those two offenses. I'm going to kind of go through what we did in 2018 and what made us so successful. I'm going to talk about the 3-4 defense. Just really, it's kind of a new style of doing an older defense, and then cover the gap runs that I use to attack it, some of the zone things, and then complementary variations to those things. I think that's really important because those are pieces that can fit into any offense that you're going to be able to kind of build an attack for, because I do think you need some specificity when attacking this stuff. So power spread offense. So the foundation of it is gun or pistol. So never under center, a lot of inside runs and RPOs and as an extension of the run game. So the RPO game, there's really, in my opinion, 2 worlds of it right now. There's people, Lincoln Riley at Oklahoma, Oklahoma State had been doing it for a few years, but throwing the ball down the field off of it, and then some of the perimeter screens, which you saw in Chip Kelly's old Oregon's offense, kind of what Scott Frost is doing now at Nebraska, but counting those as an extension of as the run game and some of your perimeter runs, but really a way of stretching the defense laterally to manufacture some space on the inside. But one of the things that I used that I thought was really advantageous was a hybrid personnel system. What I mean by that is I tried to keep the same 11 kids, and I don't mean specifically those kids, but the same 11 kinds of positions on the field all the time. So I shouldn't say never, 95% of the time, I never changed out personnel. And I think there are some things that you can do with that, with formations and motions and movements that make you really difficult to prepare for and defend. It's not one of those deals where once you exchange personnel and jump into 10, okay, well, now this team's in 10 personnel. They're going to get in one of 2 formations and run one of 4 kinds of plays. So I think by doing that, you really give yourself access to an entire playbook and become really unique for a week-to-week game plan for a defensive coordinator to have to see. There's some other pieces, too, with tempo advantages, with substitution rules as this. So really the college football rules are set that if you don't change personnel on offense, you don't have to give them the opportunity to do so on defense. And I think that's really, really critical for success, that if you can use tempo and different things like that to gain an advantage, that's something that you really want to do. Now, whenever I say tempo, everybody thinks that means go really fast. But I think tempo needs to be treated like how a really good pitcher probably has 2 to 4 pitches that he can go to and use. So what I used in 18 was a regular no-huddle signal system. We went at a pretty decent clip whenever we wanted to, but it was rhythmic. And then we used a lot of look tempo, and we used, our quickest tempo, which we were actually trying to get the ball snapped. So in my opinion, I used 3 different types of tempos that I could use kind of organically throughout the course of a game to gain an advantage. We're a big 2-run family system. So gap plays, meaning when I define a gap play, meaning the front side of the O-line is going to block back or block down, and then you're going to use a puller or series of pullers from behind the center to recreate new gaps on the front side. The zone series is I would say the way I did it is similar to how a lot of people do it in college football right now, but it's much closer with the technique that's used to like old school veer. Think downhill vertical punch dive. And again, those RPOs being an extension of our run game. So letting those kids do what they do well, receivers blocking corners and receivers catching the ball and running and keeping the ball outside of the numbers. So I want to get the defense, basically aligned opposite of where the ball is going to get distributed. And what I mean by that is if I'm lining up in a bunch of tight formations, I'm probably trying to punch the ball out wide. And if I'm lining up in really wide formations, and I can stretch you out that way, then I'm going to try to run the ball inside where you're not. So looking at our 2018 season, we had a very good year. I think, I got asked a lot of questions about why, what would you attribute the success to? We very rarely, in 5 years I was there, we very rarely went into games with as good or better players than everybody. So I think that's really critical to get out of the way. It's not like we had, all these Division I transfers and things like that were, up for the Heisman or anything like that. So, we had a ton of success scoring points, gaining yards, and really limiting two things. We limited turnovers and we limited negative plays. I think to me as an offensive coordinator, that's the number one thing. If you can start there is don't turn the ball over and don't take zeros or minuses. You've given yourself a chance to be very successful. So if you look through some of the numbers, what I will tell you is what we did was not revolutionary by any means, but I think how we did it might be. Our system, the system we put together is very, very simple. It's very clean. And I think one of the things, a strong suit that we were able to get done there was make a very complex game and offensive system be very simplistic. We had a back who ran for almost 2,400 yards and 41 touchdowns. And at the same time, the quarterback between rushing and passing accounted for about 3,700 yards and 47 touchdowns. So if you look kind of at the bottom of the left column, you can see that we ended up with almost total balance. Now, I don't think you have to go into a game saying we got to be balanced. I think that's a complete myth. You need to be able to – the offense was set up to take the easiest way for me to gain 6 yards possible. We ran the table in the regular season, finished ranked in the top 4. They got beat in the semifinals by a very good team, but broke a lot of records, points, yards, points in a game, points and a half. We actually scored 60 and a half a couple times, scored over 70, I think 5 times, points in a quarter, a lot of those things. But, no team from the conference I was in had ever won more than one playoff game in a season and never advanced to the Final Four. So we had a really good year, and I think some of the things that we did here were really specific. We saw 5-3-4 teams last year. So, again, one of the things that's been fascinating to me from running a power spread offense and getting out here to Army is there's really not the similarities between the offense I ran and the similarities between the offense that Coach Monken and Coach Brent Davis run here are extremely similar as far as concept and philosophy. So the best way I can explain it is it's like everybody's trying to drive to the same location, but the way the cars look completely different. And the cars are based, suited to fit the coaches, the personnel, the climate, the conference, things like that. So the 3-4 defense, I think one of the big things of dissecting this is understanding what you're getting yourself into and what you got to attack and how it came into play. So this is what I'm talking about when I say the 3-4 defense. I'm talking about a true zero, a couple of 4 eyes, and that really being the big difference is you used to see everybody playing 5 techniques, but Aranda, who had been at Wisconsin and now down at LSU, and Jim Leonard at LSU or at Wisconsin, those guys have really kind of put this defense, in my opinion, at the forefront of college football. And I think it's really good because it's built to stop certain things. Okay. So it's a new style of defensive football, but it really isn't. It goes back to being a Bear, in my opinion, the new era of Bear defense. So it's really good because, most everybody now is spread. Everybody's basing out of a spread offense as opposed to a traditional 2-back pro eye, things along those lines. So as a result, what are you going to get? So it's set up to stop spread offenses. What do spread offenses do? They're 1-back teams, which means you're going to get a lot of inside and outside zone. You typically get a run key given away by a lot of teams that are going to, the depth of the back is really critical. Defensive coordinators are calling a lot of things to and away from the back because if the back is offset one side, typically the runs go opposite. The RPO game that is just, caught on and taken the college football world by storm lately. I think this helps you get more defenders outside of the box and in throwing lanes. And 4-man pressures out of this defense are really the new line stunt. It's not expensive for a defensive coordinator to be able to put any of the 4 linebackers in some kind of line stunt and gap exchange with one of the defensive linemen to be able to do that. The other thing is it allows you, personnel wise, you basically have, 3 kind of D tackles or 3 techniques. And those guys are typically on the move. So it's a new way of teaching run fits, and you can get more nickel defenders at those outside backer positions because the defense is set up to have everything hit the line of scrimmage and spill laterally. And then on top of which, it's a really good defense for it kills inside zone from one back, and it really creates a lot of negative plays. So and I'll be honest with you, I banged my head against the wall for about 2 years once this thing got on the scene because I kept wanting to do traditional things, and I wasn't, in my opinion, treating this defense the way that it needed to be treated. But it really had some good answers, I felt. So really, offensively, when I get into a game, what am I trying to do? Like my priorities, I want whether it's going into a game or at the end of the season, I want to go back and have these things said about the offense, that we're running sound plays. You see I have seen from watching film, so many inside zone teams run inside zone against this defense, and the backside tackle gets pinned off by the 4-eye, and then no one can block the backside inside backer, and he just exchanges gaps with the D-end. And then you basically are running into a line stunt with an unblocked guy, giving a false read to a quarterback, and you're sitting there not running a sound play. So I think that's really critical is you want to run sound plays, and you have to run the football. Every team that wins consistently runs the ball. And then just that, I know it isn't the sexiest thing in the world, but man, just avoiding negative plays at all costs. To me, anything that doesn't gain 0 or less or turn the ball over was a very successful thing for the offense. You want to be able to make everybody defend the entire field. I think that's absolutely critical as far as, say what you want. Offensive football is about expanding space, and defensive football is about condensing space. And I think you need to have a plan in place to be really physical. Again, I talked about the turnovers, and then like I said earlier, just, we're all trying to get to the same destination. We're just traveling in different cars, and there's lots of ways to be successful. It's just about finding the right fit. And I think there's a lot of variables that go into determining what is the right fit for you guys. So when you game plan against this 3-4, I think it is really critical that you build all your calls by formation. So whatever formations you use or variations off of that, draw that defense up and in and fit those to the formation. And then out of that formation, you have to be able to give yourself a gauntlet of really, hey, these are the things that are great to do out of this look. Okay, I think you're going to be way better off if you can limit the amount of formations you get into and limit the plays so you're really only running things that you're in love with. And then what you need to do is window dress how to get to there. Be a lot of smoke and mirrors of how you ending up in the same thing, which you'll see when I show you the film. But be really simple and consistent. And I think if your kid's brain's moving, their feet are not. I think the more confidence you can give those guys, man, the better off you're going to be. I think you need to avoid a buffet-style offense, and it's really easy to do. And a buffet-style offense to me is, I mentioned some other coaches at other places here early on, and they're all doing great stuff. There is so much good stuff going on in college football right now that it's really easy to say, ooh, I want a little bit of this and some of that, and I'll try some of this. Ooh, well, give me 2 of those, give me 1 of these. And you end up, just with something that doesn't really go all together. So I think you have to have a really, fine-tuned game plan going into it. I was just talking to Coach Munkin out here at Army the other day about, one of the big reasons I didn't do any option stuff when I was at Kansas Wesleyan was because I'd never coached in that offense before, and I didn't have anybody on staff that had coached in that offense before. Well, I'm not a smart person, but I know I'm smart enough to know that I'm not going to go buy a DVD or something like that and watch it 1 or 2 times and go, oh, I'm an expert at the option. I'm going to go put all this in. when I don't know how do you game plan with it, how do you personnel it, what are the answers, what are you going to see defensively, how do you practice it, what drills get married with it. And I thought I didn't know anything before, and then I got to Army, and now I'm 100% certain I didn't know what the heck I was talking about. So I think you have to be able to stick to a really concise plan of what you know what to do. And then, like I said, really I think there's 3 wrinkles that you can add in to your base plays that make it really difficult for you to defend and appear very complex to people defensively. So anytime you're willing to run the quarterback, and when I say that, the person who's in the quarterback position to +1 them in the run game, if you can do some tackle over stuff, especially against what I'm going to cover here in a little bit, I think that's really good. Excuse me. And then any movements and shifts, shifts, motions, trades, atlas, shift one, motion another guy. All of those things are absolutely critical to, defensive coordinator might know, but he's not playing in the game. You got to get after the kids that are appearing in the game. And I think you absolutely need to study trends before implementing something new. So I always use this as a perfect example. There are times, a couple times a year, where I think I've found something really good to do. A new play, a new concept, something like that. And I go, oh man, I'm so smart. I really want to put this in. Well, I'll go watch some Oklahoma film and they're not doing it. I'll go back to 2012 and 13 and watch some Oregon film and Chip Kelly's not doing it. And I'll watch some Gus Malzahn film in Auburn and he's not doing it. Well, those are 3 guys that are smarter than me, with more experience than me, with infinite resources. And if none of them are doing it, it's probably not very good. They run a lot of enough different stuff to, there's no chance I'm figuring out something that those guys and their staffs haven't been able to put together yet. So I'm one of the best thieves you'll ever see as far as stealing ideas of watching other people do good things and trying to implement those. But I think it's really critical to get a wide base and not just go, well, this one team does this. I'm going to do that. So, all right, I'm going to get into the gap run stuff here. So, again, I'm going to talk about gap runs and zone runs. And I'm going to walk you through exactly how we do it and what we do. So, gap run system. This is a 3-play series for me. Now, again, before I keep going any further, again, I don't have any of the answers. I don't have, I don't consider myself smarter than anybody else or right or wrong or anything along those lines. I'm going to explain this, how we did it, why we did it, and you guys be able to decide, if it's a right fit for your program. So I'm not here to sell you on anything. I just want to put into some thought. My goal of this is to explain to you kind of my thought process behind what I did to be able to end up where I ended up, because this is such a big trend. I chose this topic because I get more questions. I bet you I get 7-10 people a day texting me or calling me about ways to attack this defense. So I want to, I'm not running this offense anymore at that place anymore. So I can be very transparent with what we did and why we did it. So there's going to be some of it you like and some of it you think is stupid, and that's all good because it gets everybody thinking and talking. So this is a 3-play series, and out of this I get power, counter, and counter tray. I'm going to explain how all those work, but the benefit of it is essentially I use a concept blocking to where it's all the same scheme for everybody. It just changes out 1 or 2 pieces. Now, this is absolutely critical. Against this defense, use a 3-man surface when you're running gap plays. Start out that way. And what I mean by a 3-man surface is you always have a guard and you always have a tackle. There's always a 2-man surface. A 3-man surface, I'm saying, is you're adding a third person in at the point of attack. Now, that can be a hard tight end, a true tight end on the line of scrimmage, or it can be a soft tight end. A term everybody uses is sniffer or H-back, anything along those lines. But you want to use a 3-man surface when you're running this stuff. And again, you can easily add variety in with those 3 ways: quarterback runs or wildcat runs, tackle over, and then any kind of movements. And then the other part that's really good of this is these will be some 2-back runs and some 1-back runs. So starting out, this is the absolute first component of it. Okay, so you can see I'm doing this out of a 3-man surface, and it's always going to be the tackle and whatever the third man is going to be in a play side double team to the backside backer. Now, if there's one detail I think everyone should take away from this, and I would tell you this is a point worth writing down, is that against this defense, one thing that is really advantageous, a little detail I picked up that we were able to get put in, was because the people move so much defensively, you can use that for good sometimes. But at the same time, because they move so much, it's easy for the two people in a combo together to get on different levels. So as a result, when there are two people in a gap double, I want the outside guy to cheat towards the line of scrimmage a little bit. Okay. If he lines up, if you get this tight end right here to line up on that tackle's heels, when that double happens, the inside man is responsible for the penetration. The outside guy is responsible for the movement. And you can create that 90-degree vertical bracket to take that guy back as your outside guy is going to slide off. Okay. And I think another big piece of it is you don't ever want to teach it as a 50-50 look. It's this outside guy, I get to absolutely crush this double until the backer comes all the way over the top, or the inside guy is I get to absolutely crush this double unless this guy tries to run through. So you never teach it as 50-50. It's, hey, you're doing this and there's only one scenario on the planet that gets you off of it. Okay. So that's always what happens on any of these on the power play, the counter play, the counter tray. The next component is the back blocks. So your guard and your center are always going back. The guard's going to block down on the nose, and your center is going to block back on the first thing that appears, which 9 times out of 10 it's going to be the rush. Okay. So now you've got your front side double and you got your back block. So what that does is that always leaves the outside backer and the inside backer to the call side as the end man on the line of scrimmage and the puller. So we're going to wham this outside backer and we're going to pull, or the term I'm going to use a bunch in this tape is wrap. I'm going to wrap for that inside backer. So you end up with, here's your power play, your basic power play. That stays the same. You're going to use a fullback or some kind of body over there to wham the end man on the line of scrimmage, and your guard is the wrap. If you run your counter play, now you're switching their responsibility. So again, same play for everybody on the field except for the pulling guard and the H-back or the soft tight end. Now they just exchange responsibilities. So you can do that to get better personnel matchups, break tendencies. So the fullback doesn't always, his alignment doesn't take you to the ball, so on and so forth. And then your counter tray look, where now your guard, it's the same thing as counter for him. And now your tackle is going to pull. And this is a really good look because you're blocking back on a B-gap defender and he can get out of there. And again, those ends are typically in a movement, so you're in good shape as is. So that's power, counter tray. Okay, some variations that you can get off of it. And I want to show you through some of these looks. So I talked about how critical it is that you're able to do kind of some window dressing and things along those lines. Trade, shift, motion. So I want you to see how I'm going to run the same 3-play gap series over and over and over and over, which are great looks, great angles, great leverage inside the box. So here you have your basic power play with a front side RPO. No big deal. Pretty simple thing. One note on the RPOs. I'm not a big fan of matching an RPO opposite the mesh. So I think whichever way you can have the quarterback open, if the RPO is built into that side, I think that makes everybody's life a lot easier. So here's one look of power with an RPO. Here's another look of power with fly motion. Okay, so if you want to help that, little things like this are really advantageous because they can manipulate some defenders and some run lanes for you before the ball's ever even snapped. So if you're going to, like, for example, if you're trying to wham and wrap for these two guys and you're a power read team at all getting this coming across, you might get this and this out of that fit naturally, which helps that and that for the ball to be able to crease right through here in the front side A gap. So little things like that I think go a long way. Okay, now you see a look out of us running unbalanced, so numeric unbalanced. So we can run power out of a 4x none unbalanced, and that puts the end man on the line of scrimmage, that puts him in a tough spot because he's being coached up to take away, cheat the difference between, 2 and 3, and he's going to have to widen so they don't end up with just 2-on-2 out there. So you're starting to manipulate space based on the formation. And again, the beauty of this whole thing is you're still just running power. Okay, now a lot of these, I use power as the example You can run power, you can run counter, you can run counter tray. I just use this because it's simpler. You can start in, what looks like a one-back set, motion your fullback in, gain a hat, change the, what they see as the personnel grouping and formation, and now you're able to run it where that guy doesn't think, the hang defender here, he's probably going to align and cheat real wide because he sees it's a one-back set and I'm not going to get power. So once this guy gets here, he's got decisions that he's got to make where if he stays out here, you're in great shape on that angle. If he comes in tight, I'd sprinkle in an RPO to the front side of this or something along those lines. You have literally limitless options. So I think that's very good for you. Here you can get away running Q power with a front side RPO by the tailback. So again, a way of getting this guy in a tough spot. Well, if he wants to stay in near the box to cheat this, your tailback's going to leave, and now outside the hash, you're going to play 3-on-2 with an advantage. If he stays nice and wide, your fullback, you can see by doing some of this stuff, that guy doesn't even have to be a great blocker because you're going to be able to create some really good numbers and matchups. Here you can see you're running Q power back to a nub side with an RPO built in going against the grain the opposite way. So if you're getting any backside pressure or boundary side pressure and you want to hold that backer that way, you can do that. Q power with a different RPO, so you're getting into a new unbalanced look. A different 4x none. You can put some down the field stuff on there. Running the quarterback, by jumping into some of those empty sets with a soft tight end, you're still able to, does a defense count that as empty? Because you can still have access to your entire two-back run game offense. So I think that's a good thing to do. Here you can run that exact same RPO. You can just do it from a two-back set and let him motion out of the backfield, snap it when he's right here, and get into running the same play. So you can see what I'm talking about as far as running the same concept, but making it look like a lot of moving parts. It is a lot of moving parts, but you can make it be a really simple system. Okay, here's a look at counter tray. So now you're just going to line up in your one back stuff, and you can see I'm using a different backfield mesh here, which you'll see like I use a reverse out on power and counter tray, very, very similar to zone read where you're looking at the backside half. So that way I have my RPOs I can build in front side and backside, so on and so forth. But here you have your counter tray look. So again, the O-line, they're working the same assignments, the same technique, the same scheme over and over and over and over and over again with great angles. So it's a way for you to figure out what are the best matchups possible. Here you get into a 12 personnel set. So now you're getting into your double tight look. You still run your counter tray look. You can block everybody. So this to me would be a really good, you guys will know based on the teams that you play, but really these are the two cats that can cause you not trouble, but they're going to dictate a lot of what you're going to do. If you can get in open formations and get them to a line away from the line of scrimmage, do it. If these guys are lining up real tight and they're not going to, this would be a great set to use inside the 5-yard line because no matter what, you can block everybody. You don't have to rely on an RPO or risk the ball being distributed out wide. And again, here's your, another double tight look with fly sweep going towards the counter tray. Again, you have a lot of options. You could do this. You could have him block the corner, send him on a skim route, RPO off of that guy. There's just with the same motion. So there's a lot of ways to get to those same things. You can see counter tray with an RPO opposite by the back. Counter tray with an RPO out of a 3x1, so like a closed 11 personnel set. So again, you can see it's so much variety by formation. It's so much variety by RPOs and a lot of smoke, a lot of mirrors to end up being able to run the same 3-play series over and over and over again. Here, again, same thing. You get that 3x none. Now you can remove the tailback as the RPO piece, get a 4-on-3 game going out there, plus still have a sound A-gap track, power counter tray on the inside. You can get in a 2-back set. Instead of using him as a puller, run your counter tray and skim. The term I use is skim, which is basically run a bubble RPO game from a look that doesn't look like bubble. So this would be a great 3rd and 2 call because you're probably going to get this outside backer cheated up and in, going run heavy, chasing the puller, and then you expand, put the soft tight end out as the RPO. Now outside that hash, you're playing a 3-on-2 game, and you have the best numbers possible. So that's a way that I'm able to get the same looks over and over and over again. So I threw a couple of these on here just so you're able to see. So here we're in a 4 by none unbalanced. And again, this is all against that 3-4 tight front, which you can see, which makes, can make life on you difficult. But you'll see this is the same gap series over and over and over again. So I use fly sweep opposite, which you can see I'm widening out defenders on the backside. And then by the time we pull, there are 1, 2, 3, 4 guys all back behind the ball because we're able to run the fly sweep stuff off of it. So it's a really good, clean look if you get to the tight of it. So again, you're going to have a front side double to the backside backer, block back. Guard's going to pull for the front side, and we're going to be able to go and wham the end man the line of scrimmage. And you can see it's a really good look because that outside backer is not even in the picture yet. So already that fullback, that is as big of a track or running lane as you're going to ever be able to possibly get on a gap run play, in my opinion. That's a really good look. And you got great angles on the front side tray block. It's a really good job by the left tackle, kind of waiting, collecting. And again, I'm talking about his job. When we work power doubles, I talk to the inside guy. His job is responsible to get underneath and get lift on that defender. And the outside guy's job is responsible for getting movement. So again, they catch you into pressure. So it's the same thing as everybody else. Protect your gap. The puller does a great job of pulling tight and getting vertical. And again, that domino effect of there's the wham block, the puller makes the wham right, and then the ball carrier makes the puller right. So it's just boom, 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 like a domino effect, that chain of events. 4 by none unbalanced the other way. Now we just run it as is, +1 with a number. And again, to me, that's a great deal that you're able to chunk out, whatever it is, 8, 9, 10 yards, a chunk on that. You can see that front side double. I would have liked the tight end spot, the guy in the third spot, to keep coming a little tighter and try. He's got to aim to get that face mask in the far jersey number or far collarbone of that. But the puller makes him right, then the ball carrier makes the puller right. Again, you can see now what I said earlier, why it would be so fantastic if this position right here was your Y and this was your heavy tackle. So now you have 2 300-pound linemen who are in a really physical gap double all the way back. 4 by none unbalanced. One of the big things I'm a big believer in, you have to win that game. So whatever tendencies you're going to build, you can break them. But whenever you play, balanced defenses, if you draw a line right down the middle and don't count your center and don't count their nose, you get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guys versus their 1, 2, 3, 4 guys. So to me, if you can get in a bunch unbalanced and they're not going to adjust, great, do it and stay in it until they can't fix it. Again, another look at a power play. So you'll see throughout the film, there's some of these that I carried power more, some counter some more, and counter tray in the others. That's a good job by the tackle and tight end. It's a really good job by the tackle not working out. He just squeezes back and keeps squeezing back. Puller's got to stay up, but again, there goes the wham, which is already widened out here in the slot. You get a clean running lane, and you're able to, like I said, with some of these formations, you're able to steal these yards. So in critical down and distance, you're able to do that. And the left tackle's got to do a better job of squeezing off. It's a good job by the tight end staying tight and working all the way back. Puller's working tight, and that gets you into a one-on-one with that safety. So, looking at this picture in this game, I probably at this point could have done a better job of throwing the ball down the field if the safety is aligning like that and playing that far downhill. So had I been there one more year and played that team again, I would have had that ready to go. Now you can see here's your counter look. So we're just in a pro formation, using motion to opposite to be able to run the gap play up and inside. I never really worry too much about running back to the nub side of a pro set. like this because those corners always fit the cup so wide. The ball should be going inside every time. It's a A gap track, but you're running C gap to C gap, and corners never mess around inside there. But that's a good look on the front side block. This is in the semifinal playoff game. You get the pull and the wrap, able to get that fit. Ball gets up and inside. It's a good job. So there's a look at the counter play. And some of these will be the counter tray here now. So these are this is where you can run the same gap play from, one back sets. I mean, he does a good job getting yards after contact, but you can see now you get the counter tray action all the way back. Now you get the wham and the wrap by the puller. And this is a great job on a 3-man exchange, an exchange on the move here, because the tackle knows on any gap play, same as every offense in the world, he can't let anybody run through his inside gap. So that play side backer tries to run through, he protects his gap, and then the wrap block sees his is picked up, so his eyes immediately turn back and he fits, and they just do a 3-man between the tackle, tight end, and the backside tackle. They do a 3-man exchange on the move, and that's a really, really good look. Here you can see now we're in a 11 personnel 2x2 running our counter tray. You can see what I was talking about as far as, the mesh is going to open this side. That's where your RPO is, and we got 2 guys accounting for the RPO over R2, so we're good. We've got 2 guys removed from the box, which now gives us a good look to run the ball up inside. So here you got your front side double, which is great. Backside tackle's able to get that fit. Ball gets vertical. It's a great job. Another look at counter tray here. Looks like the same set. Able to get a ton of movement at the point of attack. And again, to me, this is one of the biggest benefits of attacking this defense is right now, defenses want to have this player right here, this be a pass defending, RPO defending guy, and you're matching him up versus a 285-pound guard in the run game. I really, really like the way that matches up. Would like to see the back get vertical there. Here you got your 11 personnel 2x2. So again, because I'm running counter tray, you got to remember the guard's blocking back on the nose, the center's blocking back on the end. I need to get this guy out of the picture so I can detach 2 with the formation to get a 3-over-2 look that's very common, and I can get 3 guys on defense out of the picture before we even go. So the only guy that's not accounted for that the back's got to take care of is that high safety to the call side. It's like that's a phenomenal job on the front side tray between the tackle and tight end. Tackle does a good job of cutting off penetration, being square. Tight end is working that gallop technique, hip checking him down, and a really violent punch at the point of attack. Again, now same thing I just said. You're getting a nickel type player against your guard. Tackle does a good job getting vertical. You go steal 15 yards. And again, so now, once people start, we're working our power game, people want to start getting nosy and, bringing pressures and sprinkling those in. That's where the RPO stuff that we were able to do gets the ball outside nice and wide. So if they try to muddy up the box, you're able to steal a hat and get that going. So here, similar run play versus a 3-man front. They're keeping their outside backer tucked in because of the situation in the game. We're able to expand one with our tailback. So we're still just running a Q power as the inside play, expand the tailback one. And now outside the hash, I've got a tailback and 2 hats covered up. And then a huge advantage where we're able to catch it and run away from everybody else and pick up the first down. And I talked about carrying complementary plays. So here we've just got a Q trap play where we normally throw a bubble out there. We're able to, once in a while when you calculate it and take your shots, fake the bubble and throw the vertical off of it. So how all these pieces, that's what I'm saying, is like it's not a very big, diverse system. It's just complementary plays that are built in off each other. Okay, gap game. Or I'm sorry, zone game. Zone stuff, very similar. You got zone read, and zone trap. Okay, all blocked using the same system. And again, I'm going to use a 3-man surface when I'm running zone plays. So the center will set a new ID when he's running to the 3-man surface as opposed to away from it. So you can tag that. So again, easily add variety in using Q runs, tackles over, and then any kind of movement. You got 1 back and 2 back runs. Okay. So the way that we use our zone game is, I talked to you about earlier, it's much more like veer blocking. So the center is always going to set the point and block 0. The guards are always going to block 1 guy laterally off of there. The tackles will block 2 guys laterally from the point, and the tight end will block 3 guys laterally from the point. So we have 2 ways of doing it. So runs away from a 3-man surface. The center needs to set the play side linebacker as the point. There's no real true double team. So this isn't like a power double. Think sort. Okay, so you're sorting it out because this is what this defense is built in to do is, the defensive linemen chase and exchange gaps with the defensive lineman that they're in front of. So you have to control the 7th defender. So you're going to have your 5 old linemen plus the 3-man surface guy. However, whoever that is, a hard tight end or soft tight end, that's 6 guys. You're going to be able to block 6 of the 7 guys in the front. You have to control the 7th guy with the formation. Okay. So I should say control him. It can be by the formation. And by that, I mean detached receivers. You can throw motion at that guy or just put somebody in there to block him. The ball is going to hit backside on this when you're running away from a 3-man surface because the angles are all working forward. So the very first part of it is the center is going to set the point. So we're running a zone play away from the 3-man surface. He's going to set the front side backer as the point. Then the guards will block 1 guy on each side of the count. After the guards get their count, the tackles get theirs. So there's the point. There's 1-2 guys over. That's who the tackle's on. There's the point. There's 1-2 guys over. That's who the tackle has. And then the final, the last piece of the blocking is the tight end then gets his count 3 off of the point. So it's very, very easy when you're running against away from the 3-man surface, which means that guy right there, the right outside backer, the weak side outside backer is the one you have to control. That's the defender you have to account for. When you're running to a 3-man surface, the center then can account for technically the front side A through D gap or front side 4 defenders. So he's going to set the nose as the point. Now you have to give this a tag of some kind because the center, you don't want him to learn formations. So you need to have the center be able to know, hey, I'm running to the 3-man surface or I'm running to the 2-man surface. However it is easiest for you guys to sort that out, your offenses. But the interior guys have vertical double teams and the center can just chase his hand. So the center, he doesn't even have to be very good, even if he's outmatched, because that's who the read key is for the back. So again, control that 7th defender through a motion, a formation, or block him. The ball can hit anywhere because the angles to the defenders at level 2 are working vertical. So again, now, running to the 3-man surface, the center is going to set the nose as the point. Guards get the count off of him. Then the tackles get the count off of him. Your tight end gets the count off of the point, which means the left or weak side outside backer is the one you have to control at the formation. So here's a look at a million different zone variations. And I don't want to sit here and go through these each slow. I assume I don't know how these work here because I'm getting older and don't understand technology, but I assume there's a pause button of some kind. So here's you running away from a 3-man surface. So you can see I'm detaching 2 receivers. You build in an RPO, and that's how you control, the guy in the orange is the guy you have to control. So here you have zone plus an RPO off of an unbalanced look. Okay, you can cover up that tight end every time. And again, you can see that tight end, a tackle, a heavy unbalanced set is even really good here. So you can build that into the mesh side. Here you're using a soft tight end to get all the same thing done. Build in an RPO with 2 detached. There's the defender, the right side outside backer is the one I'm trying to control, so I can line up in a different 1 back and sprinkle, fly sweep at him to help hold him. Get an unbalanced and throw an RPO off of it. Line up in a true pro set and block the guy. line up in a double tight, or I'm sorry, a 2x2 set out of 11 and put in a down the field RPO off of it. Get in a double tight set and throw some motion on. Attach a seventh guy and be able to throw an RPO off of him, which I talked about that earlier. So you can see it now. And again, this is now, let me back up. Sorry. I went back and forth. You can see when the difference is between when you're running between a 2-man and a 3-man surface. I forgot to talk about that. I apologize. So here you're still running to a 2-man surface, and then now I switch it. Now you're running to a 3-man surface. So you're setting the point to the nose because you're running to a tight end. Here you're running to a tight end. So you're setting the point with the downfield RPOs, which really is great stuff because you're protected completely on the front side, and you're throwing off the guy that if he even blitzes, he's the one who's going to determine whether you're getting the throw in the RPO or not. So for example, right here, this is great. You're blocking and covering everybody up. It might as well be a pass protection as far as you're concerned. And now you can just leverage that guy where if he stays wide, quarterback knows before he ever calls for the cadence, throw the ball out there. If he, attaches it or, attacks the run or comes as a pressure, you can distribute the ball out. And again, now you're playing 3-on-2 football out on the perimeter. Sorry about that. I should have paid attention. So here's some runs to a 2-man surface. Your basic, regular, trip set to the right, run inside zone weak with an RPO built in. A really good look. So we're setting the front side backer as the point, the left inside backer. So the center would call out that cat's jersey number. He's covered, so he's going to help on his way there. There's -1, -2, -3. He's the point. There's 1, there's 2. You got every hat blocked in half of a second. And that's, again, a great job by the back of pressing once he hits heel line of the O-line, stomp and get vertical. That's a phenomenal job by the back. Really efficient, no wasted movement play. Same thing here. You can see he's cheating real wide and plays for the quarterback, so you're able to get the ball handed. And this is a really good look when you get to the tight of really what how it's much more closer to veer blocking. So again, we're setting number 10 over there on the right. The right inside is the point because we're running to a 2-man surface or away from the 3-man surface, whichever way is easier for you to think about in your head. But it's really just there's not a whole lot of difference between what's happening there and old school veer stuff. Same principle here. And again, truth be told, we end up getting a decent play here, but the quarterback should have seen this guy and leveraged him, and I would have liked to seen him throw the RPO because that guy was clearly playing the run, probably 80-20. So we needed to get that ball probably thrown out of there. Now, again, you can see he's wide enough pre-snap to where the quarterback thought, it's a pretty good deal. But, it's an okay play. Probably could have been a better one. Now you can see we're going to start running it to a 3-man surface. So now we're going to set the nose as a point. So just by detaching 3, this is the trouble guy. I have to control the formation. We can get him completely out of the picture. And again, the center is now going to be one-on-one with the nose, but you can see he doesn't have to win very, he just has to lock on and chase his hands. You get those inside vertical doubles. Ball carrier could have pressed and tried to punch that front side or get the backers to punch out front side before he went back. That's a good look at it. Here's a great example of the center not having to, the nose is in a movement. Center does a great job of locking on and just chasing his hands. And that tells the ball carrier, who that's his read key, he's going to press and rock back on that step out of the pistol. And that tells him the ball is going to hit behind that block, and he's up in vertical. So that's a clean look at that play. That's a good path by the tight end over there because he knows the ball's going to hit inside by being patient and then fitting on the inside. Here you're running to a 3-man surface. Now he bites and tries to chase it. You play it, distribute the ball out, and you steal your 6, 7, 8, 9 yards, whatever it is that way. Here you can see a double tight set. Double tight sets are awesome because you can check things. You're safe either way. You can check counters. You can check inside zone. You can check fly sweep stuff. You can check dart. There's a million things you can do off of double tight versus these sets. And it really gets you some really good looks to throw the ball down the field. But you can see we're able to get the, climb to level 2 very easily and effectively. And so we set the nose as the point, get that thing pressed up vertical. It's a tough deal on defenses when you can go back and forth between all of these. Run into a 3-man surface. Corner over and man. And again, it gives the back. Remember when I said earlier, the ball can hit anywhere because everybody's covered up and everybody's working vertical. So it's really about kind of at that point the back reacting to what the defense is going to be able to have in it as a call on that specific play. So again, nothing revolutionary, but this is all I think really specific but very good ways to attack this front. So here's another double tight set. You're setting the nose as the point. It's a really good pass off between the center and left guard, picking that up. And because the nose moves, the back nose, I'm cutting off of that. So it's real, like I said, just veer dive, for lack of a better term. You can't find a more physical downhill run play than that for us. One of the other big coaching points when you're running this is just, I think the biggest thing is the sequence of it. We talked about, earlier, like the, domino effect of the gap play. Well, the zone play is the same thing. This is a great job by the back here of giving a little bit of a bend, like he's going to press that vertical to get people to commit backside. So you can see as soon as the back triggers right there, watch what that does to the front side backer right here. Once the back gives that a little bit of a bend, he gaps out, and he's gapping out right when the ball carrier is on the O-line's heels, when the O-line can fit that block and go. So I spent a lot of time teaching sequence along with those guys. Your inside zone look, and here's why the RPOs are so critical. Here's a, smaller guy that probably can't block. There's a run fit safety. That safety, because of the formation we're in and the call that they're in, he has to vacate his run fit to go to defend the RPO even numbers, and then the ball is able to go right back to where he was. So again, this is a team, at the time where we were able to get in open formations and get that outside backer out of the box. So we're able to set him as the point and get going from there. Good job by the back of pressing. One cut and done once he hits the heel line of the O-line. Here's a great look of where you start and what looks like, what do you call it, 21, 3x1. You get a shift in. Now you're 11 personnel 2x2. That guy who was playing, the outside backer here who was playing real tight run defense, doesn't cheat out far enough, goes and plays the run, and then you're able to get the ball kicked out, and you're in really good shape. I've got 2 outside the hash. They've got 1. That should have been a better play for us. Same thing here, zone read versus 3-4. They're going to, attack and vacate a zone. We're able to get the RPO kicked out. So to me, that's an extension of the offense. Whether you call that, a double option or triple option, it's an extension of your run game and what you're trying to do. Same thing against 3-4 teams. This tight front, I think putting 3 detached into the boundary puts these guys in a really tough spot because so many people want to bring the boundary side outside backer to where you can outnumber them very, very fast. So to me, it's an inside zone read called, and now I've got 3 on their 2 outside the hash. That's a very low maintenance, inexpensive way to gain 18 yards. And you're letting those players block who they need to block. Same thing, 3 detached Out of a 4x none unbalanced, he's able to come in and try to play the run. You can distribute it out and +1 him on the perimeter, and you're, again, gold. Line up in 3 detached, and this is where you'll see me go faster and faster at the end of series. Here I've got 3 detached out there. They only have 2 over 3. Easy decision for the quarterback. We never let a -1 number defend us, ever. So if we've got 3, they've got 2, immediately distribute the ball out there and go do that. And then here it's the same principle. We're in a very heavy run 2-back set, but it's one of the RPOs where we're plussing a guy out there. So the quarterback knows before the ball's ever snapped, the 6 defenders inside the box or 7 defenders have to fit the run, and we're going to have, in a second, 3-on-2 on the perimeter. Same thing here. We're going to be able to add a guy in, 3-on-2 on the perimeter. So just an inside zone play called. The inside guys have to fit it. You're able to throw bubble from a non-bubble look. And you can see it's not it's an easy throw for any kind of quarterback. And that's a very good looking picture to have some of your skill kids in. You can pick and choose with your formations to move guys around to get specific spots. So the last piece is just a couple of adjustments. Answers to the 3-man surface. Okay, so if the strong side end starts changing techniques, okay, so he widens from a 4-eye. So again, I'm saying all this is predicated on you're getting double 4 eyes. There's a couple ways to attack it if that guy starts moving to a 5 or a 7. Number 1 to do is to start trading the tight end. If you can trade the tight end over, I think that's, the kid just put his hand in the ground. There was no tight end. Now all of a sudden there is one. You got a shot. You can use motions. If you're going to use a soft tight end, you can motion that H back over to gain an advantage with the alignment. So again, same thing. There isn't a tight end. I'm going to align in a 4-eye. Now there is, or isn't he? I mean, he's got to make a couple decisions really fast. You can arc your gap plays. Okay. So this is going to send the tight end to the outside linebacker. So all it is an exchange for the tight end and whoever the wham block is. And then dart, which is a great call from a hash to the field because so many people will boundary side pressure. So the arc, what I was talking about, is it just changes who the end man on the line of scrimmage is and arcs the third guy to the outside backer. So this is, and I'll be honest with you, what I ended up doing about 4 games into the season this past year is the play only affects 2 people. It affects the third man on the line of scrimmage and whoever the puller is, like whoever the wham block is. So I would let those guys, based on the gap play, sort it out. So if we aligned and this guy was way down inside, well, the tackle was going to make the 30-man surface guy was going to make some kind of call where he wanted to stay part of it. If he aligned up outside in the C gap, well, he was going to make a call where he was going to turn out, and if it was power, we were going to do this. If it was counter or counter tray, we were going to do that. So we let those guys kind of solve it on the field because they know better than I will as a play caller. If I call it, I'm calling it blind. I want us to have the marker last. So that's what I mean by arc scheme. And then your dart scheme is really good. So again, assume this is the hash here, and here's the field, okay? You typically get a lot of this from that kind of front, which means you get this and an expansion here. So this is a great play from a hash to the field because you're going to get this where you can widen him and wall him out. You get a good vertical double right here, and your puller is going to be able, again, to move, punch out with whatever shoulder he's moving that direction. Ball carrier is going to press and hit that thing vertical. So it's absolutely an A-gap track. So I threw a couple of these answers on here. So here's us running an arc play with that guy. You can see he's really, really wide, maybe almost even head up in an 8. Okay, so nothing changes for the tackle. He's still going down all the way to the outside backer. There's your wham. The puller makes him right. Ball carrier makes the wham right. Another arc play here. You can see we get a ton of an easy look here on vertical push. It changes up the fit for those guys, and our ball carrier does a really good job of being disciplined in how he carries it. So now we're going to wham the D end who's geez, he's almost, I mean, a tight 9 in that spot. So we arc out, you get the fit. You can see the great job by the pulling guard. The ball is going to be able to get vertical and make the pulling guard correct. Same thing down here, line up in an unbalanced. Now we have the arc call set in. So the tight end's going to, so he's been widening now out. So we're going to arc this, wham this, everything else stays the exact same. So it just, those two guys can fit it and make you right. You get really clean run looks, and it's really tough on a defense because you're changing where those things are. So every time that, you're coming to the sideline, those kids are giving the defensive coordinator, or the other coaches are giving the defense coordinator maybe some not so accurate feedback. And here's the dart play. So again, you can see I'm running it on a hash back to the field, and I get exactly what I think I'm going to get out of that D end. He works up and out, able to get that, thump through. A-gap track, really good job by the puller. You get that inside vertical double. It's a great look, and it's really easy for the backside guard. And again, on the dart play, to me, you can make it the exact same rules. Whichever guy it's easier for him to block back on does, and the other one is the puller. So here you can say the dart play again. So running dart to the left, again, from the hash to the field, get exactly the picture I think we're going to get. And it's a great answer to, hey, I've got a tight end attached here, 3-man surface this side. They're playing us in a 5. Okay, great. We're going to be able to set out, double back. Whichever one of these guys is going to block back, and the other one pulls. So you can see even right here, these two guys just sorted it out that this D end was in a 5. So it's easier for the tackle to block and the guard to go. If this guy was in a 4-eye, it'd be easier for the guard to block back and the tackle to go. Just a very simple, when I talked earlier about concept blocking. Now you can run the same dart play, sprinkle motion against the grain to screw up some fits, get some eyes in the wrong spots. Back should have pressed that a little bit, 2 more steps, and made that block right and fit that a little better. Double tight set here. Run it as is. And again, you can see it's a vertical. This is what we want to be doing. Just a vertical, mean, downhill play. Great fit by the guard. Get double tight 3x1. Running dart to the right. So from the hash to the field. That's a really good look. Man, I need to get the safety out of that picture in that game. That would have been good to pay attention to. Same thing there, dart with the fly sweep motion. And this is a phenomenal job by the back, being a disciplined runner. There's the puller, press the puller, make his block right, setting that block up, knowing the whole time he was going to slide underneath of it. Fly sweep. You can see I run a lot of power read as a complement. You need to get that ball in, scored. So, whoever you're playing, they're going to be a field pressure team, a slant one way, a boundary pressure team, whatever it is, you're going to be in really good shape. Okay, whether you run dart, I just think this is so much easier of an answer than, trying to make, on calls with the tackle, and you're going to base that, and you lose a lot of your leverage to where if you just want to get in certain looks to run certain things and carry dart as a concept, I think you're in really good shape. So a couple tips and tricks to wrap up. I think unbalanced versus a balanced defense is always just so good. 2 tight end sets are awesome. Certain plays can get checked to certain looks. If you want to get in and run Q counter, if you want to run an RPO, if you want to run inside zone or zone read, whatever it is, you can set it to a certain person. You can set it away from people, run it to a safety or away from a safety. There's a lot of things. Package 2 plays together. Fly motions to displace defenders, I think, is critical, as far as screwing with their keys and their run fits. adjust the line splits when you need to gain an advantage. If they got a really good guy or movement's killing you, man, go 6-inch. Go foot to foot if you need to. As long as you're not giving up zeros and minuses, you're gaining yards. You know what I'm saying? If you can avoid zeros and avoid negatives, well, that means there's only positive yardage left. So that's always a good thing. RPOs conflict defenders really well and put them in tough spots, and you can marry that to the mesh. I think that's really important. I know there's some really good teams out there that don't do that. That is what I have found to be really advantageous. Play selection, just again, kind of summing up back with the very top of it, just, man, we all operate with a finite amount of snaps. Be realistic with what you're going to do. You run out of plays really fast. There's 3 ways, 3 runs I showed you in gap, basically 2 runs I showed you in zone, and a lot of ways to window dress those. So you can run out of plays fast, but build your calls in by formation. Make sure you have good all-purpose calls that fit your formation, fit the defense, and they're good from any field zone and down and distances. Match your best personnel against their weakest. I think that's a critical piece. And run what they don't want you to defend. You're essentially going to be able to run a bunch of – they put this defense in and installed it because they were going to see a ton of 10 and some 11. So get in a bunch of 2-back and run 2-back principles, and you're going to be able to gain an advantage because that's not what they're wanting to do. So again, wrapping up what a 3-4 is and why it is that way. I covered some base gap runs, some zone runs, the variations off of them, some tips, tricks, and strategies to use. And I just can't thank Run the Power enough for this opportunity. It's one of the best podcasts there is out there, run by 2 incredibly good dudes who are great ball coaches who are given access to a lot of people. If there's ever anything I can do to help you, reach out to me. Follow me on Twitter or shoot me a message or whatever. And again, I can't thank you guys enough for your time and really appreciate it. Thank you.